Welcome to the Place of Rest, where our aim is to give you language that helps you displace the growing confusion, chaos, and dis-ease of our times. In today's episode, Virginia discusses how reclaiming your personal story and reconciling your soul to truth restores sovereignty and internal liberty. We hope you enjoy today's conversation.
For 35 years, I have wrestled with the confusion, chaos, and dis-ease of the age. It was an observation that I made as a little girl. And of course, as we all do, these little seeds of imagination are deposited in our heart, I think, by design and supported by our life experiences. And I was curious and a little crazy and a little wild about finding answers. And I would say for most of my life, I don't think I was understood by my mom, my dad for sure. My mom always wondered. My stepmom, my mom, as we all know, left us when we were very young. And then my siblings, I was just, I think, marginalized a little bit, maybe discarded, maybe the rolling of the eyes. Oh, that's just Virginia. But my whole story really landed me on a pilgrimage that can be explained in one little word, and that's rest. And I realized that it was a reconstitution approach to healing. Healing what? I'm often asked. And I said, everything, anything, whatever you need. It's this complex, like algebraic equation. And once you know the equation, you can solve for any variable. Whether you're dealing with relational, emotional, or spiritual confusion, chaos, and dis-ease, I can help you reason and reconcile the conflict, the things that you're wrestling with, and live in the freedom of wholeness. I think it's fitting to say that this marks the beginning of a new chapter for rest and recover. Because the journey continues, the pilgrimage continues, but we're going to have tools and resources to get this out to the masses. And so I'm very excited about that. So it's the end of a season, and so much of my personal heritage is woven into the tapestry of everything we've discussed. And hopefully you've shown up with curiosity about your own stories. It's a good time to remind everyone the reason we've invited you into this place of rest, relational, emotional, and spiritual truth, this place where you can reconcile, I should say, the breach in communication between your spirit, your soul, your body, so that you can live in alignment with the creative order of things. And you can examine the life of your heart, the role of the relationships, the meaning of pictures, and the value of the stories that have shaped your life. And so you're able to step into a place of freedom because you have to access the innermost workings of your conscience to determine what things have you enslaved. And that's a function of liberty in the heart of a man. We are finishing up with our module on heritage for the year. And of course, it's accessible for people. We have expanded ways to deal with all these topics every year. But we are closing a chapter and stepping into a new season and a new chapter in the story of rest. Before we discuss this new chapter, I think it's fitting to look back for a minute and talk about the things that we've been discussing in the context of how it was all informed by my own life story. And I think I've talked a lot about that throughout. The mission of R.E.S.T was freedom. My dad we immigrated here in pursuit of freedom. He knew that things weren't looking good in our country and in Montevideo in Uruguay, and he wanted us to grow up free. That's why we came to America. And of course, we went through normal immigration channels and had a huge sense of responsibility of what it meant to become a citizen and to integrate, although I was not allowed to speak English in my home. I had to speak Spanish. Outside the doors of our home, of course, only English, but inside the four walls, only Spanish. So that informed my formative years. And of course, the illustration, we illustrate how that shaped so much of my worldview, of my experiences. And I invite our audience always to use the material we share to create context for a lot of the confusion, chaos, and disease that they may be experiencing in their own lives. And then I talked about the pilgrimage of rest, and that's like all these pieces of our lives, how they beautifully fit together, informed by the providence of God. And that's where I think our faith expands. Sometimes diminishes for a season, but certainly expands. And then we landed on the heritage of rest. And so our heritage does not begin in our home. Our stories do not begin in our home, but it's the womb of our hopes, our dreams, our fears, and our passions. It's the story of the story of the story of the story of our deepest convictions. That's our heritage. So it's appropriate to say that after 35 years of reasoning that the deepest hunger of the soul is for rest and reconciliation so we can live in the freedom of wholeness, we have been invited by the powers that be and given by the powers that be an incredible platform on Apple to populate the Restore app. So the Restore app will be officially launched shortly, and you should all get something in your email or your text or something letting you know how to not just reserve a spot, but there's something specific, that there's a certain amount of, I don't know what, I'm not a tech person, but everybody will get the announcement. But we are officially transitioning and scaling the message to reach the masses, not just here in America, but internationally. So it's a beautiful thing, and it's a great honor. And I thank our team. I want to recognize our team and everybody. And of course, our tribe that listens regularly. And the ones that don't listen regularly, share our podcast with so many people and notes and all kinds of things. But here's the best part of what we've accomplished in these last 35 years. That people have a working understanding that they have full power and authority to exercise their divine sovereignty to heal, not just from what they're told top down, and they have to reason, or from the bottom up, all the physical interventions that we can extend each other. But most powerfully, healing comes from the inside out. And in that spirit, the app was called Restore. Rest-or. How do we restore? By reconciling, rebuilding, reviving, reasoning, reconstructing. There are so many ways that we restore these facets that feel like they're crumbling within and around us. And we heal, right, from the inside out.
Are you listening to today's episode yet feel the tug of modern confusion in your life? Virginia has spent decades helping individuals unwrap complex systems to find clarity, order, and ease. In order to move from simply listening to a broadcast into experiencing a conversation, we discovered a space to gather, ask questions, and expand our reasoning together. That is why Rest with Virginia Dixon is officially expanding to Substack. We are inviting you to step out of passive consumption and join us at virginiadixon.substack.com. Right now, on our platform, you can post your questions about these episodes, learn the laws of nature and self-evident truths that speak to our natural affections, and discover how to secure external freedom by accessing internal liberty through exercising self-governance with Virginia. Don't forfeit your personal government to the noise of a chaotic world. Subscribe today at virginiadixon.substack.com. Join the conversation and let us heal the heart of this generation together.
So how do we restore? We reason, we rebuild, we reestablish, we revive, we reintegrate, we redeem, to name a few. Every single facet of our lives from the inside out. And we've seen the transformative impact that has in our life. So this app is going to be phenomenal. I am very excited about it. You can access it shortly. We'll make sure that our listening audience gets first access because we have some pretty neat things we're doing for the first 100 people that register, that sign up for it. As I close this chapter, I think of rest so fondly because, as I've often said, it was the most beautiful invitation by the most well-recognized, well-known, and perhaps compelling figure in history. And he invited humanity to rest, to step into a place of relational, emotional, and spiritual truth, to examine the conflict within themselves so they could love purely, love themselves, and show up to be gentle and be kind and be long-suffering with others. The hemorrhaging heart of this nation needs restoration. When you invite people to rest, that's how you do it. But what you do is you really invite them into a pilgrimage of restoration. Restoration, according to Noah Webster, 1828 dictionary, is when something is restored to its lawful and rightful function, purpose, meaning, being, if you will. And I love that. It had never occurred to me. We picked restoration because rest is in Asian. It's rest. So restore is the name of the app. What we will do in it is provide a myriad of resources to help you reason, reconcile, redeem, revive, restore, reclaim the very life of your soul. The reality of the spiritual things that are always informing you. And lastly, your health. So the Restore app is going to be fantastic. I'm so excited. So I'm going to read something that this is what it's all about, is to restore and reconcile that we are not spectators in our own life. We are the sovereign authority of our own restoration. The anxiety, trauma, and burnout that you are experiencing may tell you that your peace is gone forever, but they lie. You may feel as if you're buried alive, but you're not. By design, everything you need is woven into the tapestry of your being. The strength is still inside of you and waiting to be reclaimed and unleashed. So we're going to have a call to action, an invitation to step into freedom, rest, and restoration. This is going to be a tool, not a crutch. The Restore platform isn't being created to fix you, or it's not designed to fix you. You fix you. We simply are going to provide the framework from which you can reason to displace the growing confusion, chaos, and dis-ease of the age, or your personal dilemmas that afflict you. The goal is to recover, regenerate, renew, reclaim your sovereignty, your freedom. The same old garbage does not have to enslave you any longer. You can be free. Then we're going to talk about getting into the ownership of this whole thing. As we have done since the beginning of our podcast, we're going to talk about ownership, agency, and wholeness. The ownership part is no one is coming to do the heavy lifting for you. That's just as well, because when you think about it, only you have the power to reclaim and the authority to reconcile and restore the confusion, chaos, and disease that's afflicting you. Number 2 is agency. Everything you will learn and every new habit that you will build, every choice will be governed according to the dictates of your own conscience. And we're going to continue to unwrap that in very active and specific ways through the app that are going to be life-giving. And you as a listener and our tribe, those who join the tribe, as I like to call them, you're going to step into the freedom of wholeness in a whole new way, because you aren't building a new version of yourself through these resources. You're returning to the whole unshakable person that you were before the noise took over and circumstances buried you alive. So there's going to be calls to action after all these things. And we're going to have an orienting compass. The whole thing is supposed to serve as some kind of orientation compass for those of us who feel like sometimes we lose our way. We're going to help people determine, and our viewers and our participants and ourselves determine at any given time where we're losing ground. What are we going to examine? The life of your heart. We're going to help you examine the life of your heart. And that's where and when and how did that quiet, still voice that informed you of your dreams, your hopes, your passions, your deepest convictions, where did it go? The role of relationships. How did you and are you showing up for yourself and your family and your relationships and your children, etc.? And what is the meaning of the pictures, of the images that are imprinted in your brain and carried in every single cell? And of course, all to make sense of our crazy stories. What is the value of our story? What is the pieces? And the aim and the goal, of course, is of your story, and the meaning and the purpose of your story is for you to understand that you don't exist in a vacuum. You're a priceless, essential part of the tapestry, not just within the fabric of your own family and your spheres of influence, but also in the tapestry of mankind. So, we'll be encouraging people to select the primary territory, the primary terrain, the primary kingdom, the primary place they want to start, and invite them to step into that space. So that's the purpose of the app. But it's going to be interactive. It's going to hold all medical records. It's going to do some phenomenal things. So we're going to be building on that.
We hope listening to this episode has brought you closer to experiencing the freedom of wholeness and healing. If you have questions or comments about today's episode, or for updates about R.E.S.T, please visit our Instagram or Facebook at The Place of R.E.S.T. If you would like more information about Virginia, or to support and join the cause of R.E.S.T, please go to theplaceofrest.com/donate or call 949-289-5935. Thank you for listening to R.E.S.T with Virginia Dixon. We'll see you next week.